One of the things that you should do is never eat with people you don't like.
Because your state of awareness will influence how your food is metabolized. There was a study done in Ohio State University where they were feeding rabbits diets that were extremely high in cholesterol. And they found to their amazement there was one group of rabbits that never got the high cholesterol levels. After a while, they found out that the technician who was feeding these rabbits, instead of just throwing the food at them, he would stroke them and pet them and cuddle them and kiss them and then feed them the same poisonous food. But now, as a result of that experience of happiness, they made chemicals inside their brain and the body that turned the cholesterol into a completely different metabolic pathway. So it's not just the food you eat, but what your awareness, what your consciousness and your state of emotions is at the time you're eating.
Eat to ease the stress,
well, then
it turns into something else.
Yes, so it's very important. In fact, one of the things I tell people is if you're not feeling good, skip the meal at that time.
See that flower? That flower was in a small pot in my living room, but it outgrew its surroundings, so I transplanted it here in the garden.
Seems like it's doing okay.
Oh yes, it's flourishing. Now, when I pulled the flower out of the small pot in my living room, it resisted a little, you know. It tried to hang on by its roots. I had to force it out.
Because you thought it would do better out here. In the world, right?
No, because I thought if I left it there, it would stop growing.
Pain travels through families until someone is ready to feel it. For many of us, our generational curse is avoidance. We come from people who just act like it didn't happen. But pain demands to be felt. And somewhere along the line, a child will be born whose charge it is to feel it all. These are your shamans, your priests and priestesses, your healers. You call them mental health patients and label their power as depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and the like. But these are the ones who are born with the gift of feeling. And as we all know, you can't heal the pain that you refuse to feel.
Normal is medicated. Normal is obese. Normal is highly stressed. Normal is debt-ridden. Normal is socially anxious. Normal is alcohol dependent. Normal is emotionally unregulated. Normal is being a slave to impulses. Normal is working a job you hate. Normal is going broke to keep up with the Joneses. Normal is 7 hours of screen time a day. Normal is being comfortable but incredibly miserable. Normal should terrify you.
You're not supposed to ever be sick. Never. The body is a miraculous machine that has been created to take care of itself and heal itself if we don't interfere. But you make yourself sick. And if the mind is powerful enough to make yourself sick, it's also powerful enough to heal you. First we got to find out why. Why did you do this to yourself? What were you trying to tell yourself? Every disease is the body talking to you. Now, cancer, most of the cases we have found, is caused by suppressed anger. If the person could just talk about what was bothering them, but they don't. They hold it inside. They always say, I don't have any problems. You're the ones with the problems.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. I mean, for someone to what you're saying is they've got to take responsibility and say no matter how they feel about taking the responsibility, they've got to
talk about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes way back to childhood, but they hold it inside. So after a while, the anger begins to churn around, finally eat away at the organs, and creates cancer.
But it must be hard for someone to take responsibility for themselves.
It is.
You know,
that's
to say
that's my
they've caused it.
As a therapist and a counselor, to get them to talk about it, and we figure out where it comes from.
But when you become ill, are you saying then that every illness you've had, you've brought on yourself?
Yeah, but I don't get sick.
What, because you're more balanced than most people?
No, because I know how it works.
Right.
Once you figure it out, you don't get sick.
Okay.
One thing they told us, the side effect of doing what you love, what you're supposed to be doing, the side effect is perfect health.
So when you're totally in tune with yourself,
in tune with what you're supposed
to be doing,
you don't get sick.
Not even the common cold, or?
Well, a common cold would mean you're working too hard. They want you to rest.
But you're talking about life-changing illnesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it's amazing. They come from all over the world to my office in this little town in Arkansas.
But you know, someone watching this right now who can't afford that kind of trip.
I've trained hundreds and thousands of people all over the world.
So there's someone in this, near, you know,
in England. I've trained many people in England.
Yeah.
And they're having the same fantastic results that I'm having.
Chase real dopamine. Sun, ice, sauna, weights, runs, walks, hard work, breath work, meditate, visualize, design, serve, connect, and create. Do real work. You'll never reach your potential if fake dopamine is always within reach.
Sometimes we got to remember.
People are just walking in front of it like we're not recording.
It happens. People are people. None of it's intentional. Never attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence. It's far more likely that they're all in their own worlds, doing their own thing. They're not paying attention to the world around them. And we all do it every day, whether you're driving, walking down the street. All of our lives are just as complex as everybody else's. Everything you have going on, they have going on. Nobody knows what everybody else is going through. We all just need to be a little more self-aware and aware of the world around us.
That was deep.
You gotta look deep to find the deep things. If all you ever do in your life is stay at the surface, you'll never find anything worth exploring.
Here are some hard truths you probably don't want to hear but need to. Imposter syndrome is just self-sabotage. My pastor said on Sunday, having imposter syndrome is like buying a ticket to an amusement park, but being embarrassed about riding the rides. After you've worked so hard to get where you're at, you're the only person that thinks that you don't deserve to be exactly where you are. Consistency and motivation are just not enough. Ask any successful person and they will tell you they had to develop discipline. Motivation is just an idea. Consistency is just repeating a task. Discipline is both of those things and mastering it. Being in love is probably one of the hardest things you will ever do. The goal in life is to love somebody that makes it all worth it. There's a huge difference between happiness and joy. Happiness comes from the word happenstance, meaning that it changes based upon your circumstance. Joy is never changing. It's eternal. If you can't find joy in life and you're just happy, you will always be in a cycle of pain.
Don't take it personal. Take note and take care of it. Never be emotional. When somebody dies, that's different. Baby coming to the world, that's different. But none of this shit is worth you ever being emotional. All it's ever going to do is all your decision making. Slow you down. Eat up unnecessary bandwidth that could be contributing to your momentum. Don't take it personal. Take note, take it serious, and take care. For what? How blessed you are? Yeah. You know where you would be 400 years ago? You're floating. It's your Rolex. Tell them to go find the game. Don't play with you.
Isn't it weird how so many versions of you exist in people's minds? Some know you as the shy person that doesn't talk. Some know you as the annoying person that won't stop talking. Some see you cold and mean. Others find you caring and kind. The gist is, the person you think of yourself exists only for you, and even you don't know who that really is. Every person you meet, have a relationship with, or make eye contact on the street with, creates a version of you in their heads. You're not the same person to your mom, your dad, your sibling, than you are to your co-workers, your neighbors, or your friends. There are 1,000 different versions of yourself out there in people's minds. A you exists in each version, and yet your you itself isn't really a someone at all. You're not responsible for the version of you that exists in others' minds. There are versions of you that only exist because other people give them oxygen, and you are not obliged to keep those other versions alive to make other people happy.
If you died, would anyone care? Would they really care? Maybe they'd cry for a day. But let's be honest, no one would give a shit. The few people that would feel obligated to go to your funeral would probably be annoyed and leave as early as possible. You're nothing to anyone, to everyone.
You said that it is a privilege to be able to have like the traditional lifestyle with the woman or the man staying home doing the stay-at-home person thing and the other one working and being able to provide. Why would you say that's a privilege?
Because most people do not find a partner that is financially responsible enough or financially capable enough or willing to work hard enough to do that.
So the definition of privilege is a special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group.
Right.
How?
Because you are my wife and you have the privilege of staying home and doing the things that you're doing. And it is a privilege. It's a special thing that you get because you married a man who's capable of doing those things.
So I do agree that it's a privilege for me. In saying that, like a man providing that lifestyle, I don't view that as a privilege. Like the man being able to provide that as a privilege for the man.
It's not.
The man has worked to get to that point.
Right, no, it's not a privilege for the man. It's a privilege for the woman.
Okay, I wanted to make sure, because that's where I was hung up on that. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't understand how a man providing that is a privilege.
It's not. It's a flex to us.
Yeah, I would say it's a flex.
It is definitely laying the dick on the table and being
Yeah.
like, I fucking am better than most of the men in this room because my wife doesn't have to get her hands dirty. That my wife doesn't go to work and submit to another person.
Yeah.
That my wife submits to me in our household and to God. And to know that we have the fucking dynamic that we have. And she doesn't have to worry about shit. I handle that.
Try to marry a girl who likes her dad. Why do you think that's important? I've never heard anybody say that. Because I've noticed it. I've noticed it a lot. Up close. This is just an observation of mine. But, you know, everyone's disappointed by his dad or her dad in later life. Like, you learn that your dad's human and you're, holy shit, I can't believe he's human. Thought he was God. No, that's natural. But, you know, when you're 8, if you're deeply disappointed in your dad, especially as a girl, that leaves a mark. And I've known women who had terrible relationships with their fathers who are wonderful people and well-balanced people, but it's harder for sure. Whereas a woman who, you know, grew up really loving her dad and feeling secure in his leadership as a dad and his love as a dad, that girl is more secure and less jumpy, and she's not, you know, thinking that every argument's going to lead to divorce.
I love calm people. The ones choosing their words wisely, never raising their voice, not living to show off, but to exist in a quiet and harmonic way, trying to at least not harm anyone. I find those people inspiring.
Just imagine if today somebody gave you a check for $1 million, and you went to go deposit it in the bank, and the bank said, great, this check will clear in the next 10 business days. Only because it's a big check and the bank need to work it out. So now in these 10 business days, you walking around with some high energy on you. You vibrating high, outputting to the universe that you feeling wealthy, happy, abundant, excited, and satisfied. And as a result, living from that level of energy would produce all these other experiences that are on that same level of excitement and abundance. Even though you ain't got no money to spend yet, you just walking around knowing that million on the way, but nothing really changed. It's just you gave permission to a condition to allow yourself to feel an emotion. So now I want you to go deep within yourself and manifest anything that you want, anything that you want to come to life, you could do it. Power of thought, power of tongue, and power of your actions. Just keep that in mind.
I asked God to take my habit away. God said no. It is not for me to take away, but for you to give it up. I asked God to grant me patience. God said no. Patience is a byproduct of tribulations. It isn't granted, it is earned. I asked God to give me happiness. God said no. I give you blessings, happiness is up to you. I asked God to spare me pain. God said no. Suffering draws you apart from worldly cares and brings you closer to me. I asked God to make my spirit grow. God said no. You must grow on your own, but I will prune you to make you fruitful. I asked for all things that I might enjoy in life. God said no. I will give you life so that you may enjoy all things. Then I asked God to help me love others as much as He loves me. God said, finally, you get the idea.
My name is Dr. Tapper. I am in private practice in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't wear a mask. I see over 200 patients a week. I come in close proximity with every patient that I come across. Why haven't I contracted this so-called disease? Americans make up 5% of the world population, but yet we take in 65 to 70% of the world's pharmaceutical drugs. We are one of 2 countries that allows pharmaceutical advertisements on the television. But yet 80% of Americans are suffering with a chronic disease associated with poor lifestyle choices. 700,000 people will die of heart disease this year alone.
Doctor, please bring yourself in order.
600,000 people will die of cancer. 300,000 people will die of obesity this year. When is enough enough? If this is truly about health, then mandate healthy living, exercise, good food choices, chiropractic, outlaw tobacco and cigarettes, processed sugars. I believe it was Thomas Jefferson who stated, if people let the government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in a sorry state as those souls who live under tyranny. You see, God made your body self-healing, self-regulating. If you give the body what it needs, it can be healthy. It is like the wilted plant that sits under the sun. An allopathic model to that is to shield the...
We have 1,000 ingredients in our foods that are illegal in Europe. And the same companies, Kellogg and all these companies, are making products in Europe, and they don't use those ingredients there. So they know how to do it, but they're poisoning Americans when they know how to not poison Canadians or Europeans or Mexicans. And the average girl in this country is now reaching puberty between 10 and 13 years old. That's 6 years younger than a couple generations ago, and it is the youngest of any nation in the world. We are destroying our children.
The worst thing to call somebody is crazy is dismissive. I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people. Maybe the environment is a little sick.
You could say, I want to be vegan or plant-based, or I want to be keto, or I want to do carnivore, whatever it is you want to do. But then you become so hung up on it that if it's not exactly perfect, if it's not exactly like right, you don't eat it. So that is orthorexia, where suddenly you have to have the burger, but it's only cooked this way. It is for lack of a better term, it is analogous to obsessive compulsive behavior, but specifically with regards to the way you prepare and are willing to eat that specific food.
Because if you're too afraid to do that, good. I don't want you to do it. Because you being unable to do it gives me the advantage. The person who's listening to this, who says to themselves, I'm scared, but I'll do it anyways, that's the person who deserves the opportunity to change their life. The person who's listening to this that says, I'm too scared to do that, good. I need you to stay exactly where you are. Because in our world, the flat out truth is, our world needs cogs. Our world needs people who are trapped in the consumer cycle. We need those people. Because the people who are trapped in that consumer cycle, the people who are prisoners to their fear, are the people who run the economy. It's the people who are willing to break that cycle and capitalize on the fears that you can't overcome. Those are the people who actually provide you the service that you need, because you can't do it by yourself. So
we also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia. And we went to work. And it was President Reagan, in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these mujahideen. And let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what? They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which is, wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union.
Guys, my wallet got stolen. At least I'm with Mima. And my purse did.
Don't worry, be happy. Esa parece, mija. A todo el mundo le han robado algo. A mí me robaron en Cuba la vida, todo.
Oh.
Y no lloré ni pataleé, me fui más pronto que volando, para que no me cogieran mis hijos. Ajá.
Ritualistic murder and rituals on little, you know, they molesting little kids, doing satanic sex rituals. Like, this stuff is really going on in this world. Like, on 9/11, you know what I mean, what they did was
they killed 20 birds with one stone. You know what I'm saying? That's how I like to say it. You know what I mean? Because they changed all kinds of laws. They changed all kinds of they changed people's mentality, the way they look at the world. They pulled off one of the biggest ritualistic murders, you know what I mean? That ever happened, you know what I mean? Live for the whole world to see.
So the CEO of Apple is saying don't pick up your phone as much?
I'm saying we made the phone not so that you'll use it all the time. We made the phone to make your life better. But for me, my simple rule is if I'm looking at the device more than I'm looking into someone's eyes, I'm doing the wrong thing.
Being a Mexican American is hella fucking weird right now. Because you got people that are like, don't identify as Hispanic, identify as Latinx. And then you got people that are like, no, don't call yourself either one of those because both terms are derived from colonizers. We need to get back in touch with our indigenous roots. So then you try to get back in touch with your indigenous roots, and then you got the gatekeepers of indigenousness because they'd be like, well, actually, no, not everyone was indigenous, so you can't claim that. And then you're like, okay, well, fuck it, I'm just going to embrace being Mexican American. But now, tienes el nopal en la frente. And if your family's from a border town in Mexico, you can't even claim really being Mexican American because those towns are not Mexican enough. But then at the same time, the southern part of the United States was once a part of Mexico, so we're all on stolen land. But the point is that we need to embrace our culture. But not if you're a No Sabo kid. Then you don't get to embrace nothing. Like, you can just sit down and shut the fuck up. And then for those who do want to explore their culture and get back to their roots, now they're just being trendy Mexicans. What the fuck do y'all want?
You go on a construction site in America right now and you say everybody that's not originally born in America has to leave, you lose the whole job. Damn near every man out there is Spanish. Guatemalans, Panamanians, Mexicans. And they're coming in and taking the jobs that Americans don't want. And I think the average American is growing up in a world that he feels like he failed if he's not drop shipping from a beach. We live in a world where you can shake your ass on TikTok and make more money than the guy that paved the road for me to get here. If you see a guy in work boots buying his lunch, you tell him, hey, listen, I'm a part of this campaign called Buy a Man a Beer. Would you please let me buy you lunch? Or would you please let me cover that for you? It would mean a lot to me. Because I'm in construction, because I worked construction my whole life, I have a heart for them, man. Without these guys, man, the world doesn't run. I just want to champion these guys more because I don't think they get the credit they deserve. And I don't think people realize how important they are.
Immigration law just isn't working out. Most immigration workers left after the law took effect. So this farmer hired Americans. Problem is, he says, most show up late, work slower, and are ready to head home after lunch. Some even quit after just one day out in the field. And farmers say many Americans are not physically fit and simply don't work fast enough.
Many of our local farmers are dependent on immigrant labor to pick their crops every day. And that's the produce you and I are buying in the grocery store. But many of the men I spoke with agree that immigrants need to be legalized in some form or fashion. Several of the farmers I spoke with today off camera say the inconsistency of the immigration law is already hitting their business. They told me workers are simply moving to states who do not have immigration laws, and they say that could jeopardize farming.
For a trucker that needs to hear this, the road can get tough sometimes, the long hours, the endless stretches of highway, and the weight of responsibility resting on your shoulders. It can feel overwhelming. But listen closely, and remember this, you are the heartbeat of this country. Every mile you drive, every load you carry. It's not just cargo, it's a lifeline. You're the bridge connecting communities, the lifeline delivering goods to families, and the silent hero keeping our world moving. Remember the strength that lies within you. You've overcome challenges before, and you'll conquer them again. When the miles seem endless and the journey feels daunting, take a moment to breathe. Remember the purpose behind your drive, the loved ones waiting for your arrival, the dreams you're chasing, and the legacy you're building.
Those dudes you call your dogs, those dudes you keep around you all the time, they're only as loyal as the last time you fed them, all right? Keep one eye open when you go to sleep at night, and don't ever trust nobody, all right? You got your family, you got the people that you've known since you were a jit. But even then, don't trust them, dog. Just keep them at arm's length. Love them with all your heart and keep them by you. Don't trust them, dog.
Somebody does something that I don't like, where I think it's foul, where it's against my principles and my morals, I just don't mess with it. Poof, you don't exist to me anymore. You in the rear view. And that's all it is. And unless you change, then, you know, again, I forgive everyone. I just don't forget. I just don't trust. I just don't want to be around. I just don't want to smell your breath. You know? Period. There's no reason to compromise my soul. As long as I can look in the mirror and take a shower and be alone and be happy with myself, that's all that counts. As long as my girl and my kids are proud of me, that's all that counts. As long as I protect the people that I love, that's all that counts. Period.
Everything you do, you go hard. When they doubt you, you definitely gotta go hard. When you fall, you go hard. That pain gonna make you grow. Big motion.
My wife was talking about how hard it is and time consuming it is to peel pomegranate. And I got her some, and I figured, why don't we cut it up for her? My wife really likes, and they're frozen. I'm gonna do this all tonight and freeze it tonight, so then tomorrow when she goes to the beach with our baby, she can take some frozen pomegranate seeds with her, and I think it'll be a really yummy treat. I know a 15-year-old looking person like me is not the person you want to listen to for relationship advice. I'm not really about to give you any, but I will say there's one thing I've learned being married and with my wife for 8 years now, is that honestly it's just about thinking about them. The other night I was gone for literally the whole day. I woke up at 5 a.m. I came home for about an hour and a half total in that day, and I was gone until 11 p.m. And when I got home, I decided this is not a big brag for me at all, because my wife does a million bajillion things for me that go probably more unnoticed than I want them to be, and I try really hard to notice them. That night though, when we got back, I was like, even though I was tired, I was like, man, you know these little pomegranate seeds, I bet she'd love to eat one tomorrow. And so I like peeled a little pomegranate for her, and the next day she said like 4 times how grateful she was that I did something as simple as just peeling a pomegranate for her. And I don't know, obviously I'm riding that high, hence why I'm doing it again here. Well, it's also refreshing to like do things for your partner.
Why are you wearing a cross on your neck?
Are you color coordinating with your neck?
Because I don't see a cross as religious, so...
Okay. Just like you don't see a marriage as religious. So
I don't think that a marriage...
have a meaning, which is why it's like we're at a stage where people are like, what is a woman? Because they just go, well, we're going to call it a marriage, but we're going to sleep with other people, we're going to bring in prostitutes, we're going to outsource raising the kids, or we're never going to have kids. You're calling it a family, it's not a family, and this is what it is. The words have no meaning, right? I'm wearing the cross. Why? I don't know. I don't think of it as religious. Okay, well, Jesus Christ died on the cross.
They're lining up for the club on a Friday night. Friday night, about to be lit. You could be there, or you could be right here. There's choices. There's choices. Figure out what you want. Put your head down, and don't pick your head up until you get there. Every freaking day.
How important is sleep?
Oh, well, sleep. We need to stop really looking at the concept as sleep, because we get a misunderstanding of what the whole process is. So it's really all about fasting. So yes, fasting is important, because every time we go to sleep, every time we close our eyes, every time we shut the digestive system down, the body automatically goes into repair. So the more waste, the more toxins that are in the body, then the body needs more time to sleep. The less waste in the body, the less toxins you have to process, less time you need to sleep. So, if you want to live a longer life, or at least have more time to live, then keep your body clean, and, you won't have to go 8 hours into the body shop at night.
Watch who you have babies with, because what you see ain't all what you see. You have to get to know these women. And these young girls nowadays, they don't care. They don't have no morals, no value for themselves. They just want to be superstars. Be on the internet, be on the Instagram, be on Love and Hip Hop, and all of that mess. It's just crazy.
I think I inspire people to do many things. Just because when I was young and very impressionable, the artists that I love inspired me. Just as I'm sure that I inspire, young people, and maybe even to, be musicians or singers. But mostly I want people to feel better by any means necessary and find their own space, their own place in the world where they can grow and be free and learn from their mistakes and move on quickly. Yeah.
I don't understand how people be like, "You so pretty," or that I'm cool and shit, but nobody wanted to be my friend. I don't have a best friend. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have nothing. Nothing. Nothing.